I wanted to cover a case I heard a lot about growing up, about a little girl taken from a mercado my family and I would visit a lot in Hayward, California. The sad story of the case of Michaela Garrett. And the information I gathered led me to a serial killer here in our very own Bay Area. Welcome back to another episode of Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. If you're new here, I'm Audrey, former paralegal turned stay-at-home mom who loves true crime. The cases I cover are wild and include topics that may be triggering. Viewer discretion is advised. Grab your hot Cheetos and let's dive into today's case. Michaela Garrett. Michaela Joy Garrett was born on January 24, 1979 in Oakland, California. She lived in Hayward, California with her family, and on November 19, 1988, she disappeared. Michaela and her bestie/neighbor, Katrina Rodriguez, were hanging out and happy to be on their first day of winter break. Being girls together in matching outfits, they scootered a couple blocks over to the Rainbow Market, now called Mexico Super, on Mission Boulevard in Hayward, California. They picked out their favorite snacks, Mountain Dew, beef jerky, and a Laffy Taffy, and felt so grown when they handed the cashier the $5 whole they had been given to buy whatever they wanted. As they were coming out of the market, they noticed one of the scooters was missing. The smart girls huddled and agreed to split up to look for it. A couple minutes later, at around 10:15 a.m., Trina heard her best friend scream. She ran to where the screams were coming from and saw a man snatch Michaela. He grabbed her by the waist, put her in his car, and sped away towards Union City. Trina runs back into the Rainbow Market and tells the cashier about the nightmare that just happened. Except this wasn't a nightmare. Trina was awake and this was real life. Together, Trina and the cashier call 911 and ask for help. In the beginning, the police suspected Michaela could be in Guerin Park nearby. The Bay Area community came together and handed out 15,000 flyers by hand, on foot. Bay Area serial killer David Misch. David Emery Misch was born on February 19, 1961 in Chicago, Illinois. In the mid-1960s, his family moved to the Bay Area. Throughout his career as a drug-addicted criminal monster in the Bay Area, he has been confirmed to have lived and frequented the following cities: Santa Clara, Hayward, Oakland, San Lorenzo, Fremont, San Jose. Non-Bay Area cities he's been confirmed to have frequented or lived at have been San Luis Obispo and Chicago, Illinois. Absolutely nothing is ever an excuse to become a serial killer. That being said, to understand the mind of one, you have to look into their background. David's father was an alcoholic who was abusive towards him and his mother. Instead of working harder for a better life, he used the cards that life dealt him as an excuse to be garbage. He did not do well in school, blames his mother for not stopping the abuse, and supposedly joined a gang at 16, which tracks because that's when he committed his first recorded crimes. In 1977, he stole a neighbor's key, went into their house, assaulted the housekeeper by knife before sexually assaulting her as he was strangling her. She was able to get away by kicking him in the stomach. In 1979, David entered another neighbor's home, partially nude, wearing nothing but a jacket, and held a mom and 2 kids at knife point. In 1982, this perpetrator assaulted a foreign exchange student from Switzerland in Oakland, California. He rendered her unconscious, scooping her to a secluded area, but was spooked away by witnesses who heard the disturbance. The murders of Michelle Xavier and Jennifer Dewey. On February 1st, 1986, David murders Michelle Xavier and Jennifer Dewey. The bodies were discovered hours later in Mill Creek Road in Fremont, California. This pair of besties had just attended a birthday party dinner and were on their way to a video rental store before meeting real-life kukui David Misch. They were last seen alive at the 7-Eleven. About 2 years after killing his first pair of besties, he went on to the next, when on November 19, 1988, David had been released yet again on parole 5 days prior. David's 3-month-old son passed away 9 months before Michaela's abduction and was laid to rest at the Chapel of the Chimes Cemetery in Hayward, California. The Chapel of the Chimes is practically across the street from the Rainbow Market. He was visiting the gravesite in memory of what would have been his son's first birthday. Witnesses reported an Oldsmobile Cutlass driving in the cemetery. A car confirmed to have been driven by none other than David Misch. Go to part 2.